Awesome. Welcome, everybody, to the weekly HTBox stand-up. We are here. We've got a great cast of folks. A lot of our stakeholders are here today, which is always exciting. And lots of work on the repo, and some exciting news coming out of this next week here. So we're going to actually start with a broader project perspective and welcome and introduction and those kinds of things. So I'll just throw it over to Tony to get things kicked off here, and we'll get started right away.
Yep, so just a quick review of the purpose of the app, what our next milestone is, and what we have going on. First of all, you mentioned our weekly stand-up. It's kind of in air quotes right now. We have it most weeks, but we hope to continue going weekly going forward. So in short, AllReady, as we've talked about several times, is an application that's focused on preparedness campaigns. How do we make sure we tie the generosity of volunteers and their time to the needs that organizations like Jim with the Red Cross have to make sure that people are as prepared as possible for both large and small scale disasters? Jim will talk a little bit more about this, but we've got a really exciting opportunity coming up in the middle of June, June 11th, I believe, and that's around working with one of the groups there who's actually going to be doing a preparedness campaign that could involve more than 1,000 folks who are going to get a service delivery, a smoke detector installed, and we're building the software that's going to coordinate all of those volunteers, their different roles, when, where, and how they're going to deliver those services, and do it in a way that the volunteers feel like they know what's going on. Their time is of the best use, and for the coordinators, for the folks who are actually scheduling and managing all of this, have a lot of great visibility, be able to plan and really make sure that everybody's getting stuff as fast as they can. So if we look at from the repository point of view, and I will try a screen share here in a second, and hopefully that will work. His eyes dart around as he tries to find the right icons on the screen. So I'm going to start a screen share just to quickly kind of poke around the repo and talk about what we have going on there, and that is this button, and it is this one, and that. Okay, hopefully that's working. Hopefully you can see. And so I'll zoom this in a bit. But as always, our stuff is up on GitHub, and we actually just recently passed a milestone, had our 47th contributor, so we've got lots of folks working on the project. And what we're doing is we're marching forward towards our next milestone. So if you go into issues, you go into milestones, we break it down quickly by things that are technical backlog, good, interesting technical stuff, but isn't a core requirement that's being asked of a milestone of a customer. Same thing with features. And then over here we have two milestones. I'm going to bump this date out a little bit more, but basically the first is let's get feature complete, let's get everything we need to deliver, and then after that is let's fix the issues that we find. So if you click in here and you look at the priorities, P1 being the highest, this is where we want to focus, and this is where we want to leverage everybody's skills. We need coding, we need some testing, we certainly need some UX and some UI design, HTML, CSS, etc. And in fact, I'd say probably our highest P1, if that makes sense, is really sort of registering and managing volunteers for what we're calling itinerary type campaigns. Itinerary type campaigns is that, you know what, we want you to, on Tuesday from 8 to 5, go and install these 5 smoke detectors. And so we've had some progress around some of the other activities here. We really need to focus people in on the itinerary type campaign activities and volunteer management and all of that work there. So you'll see those are tagged here with P1. And so if folks are looking for things to do, this is really a great area to tag into, as well as if you're looking to jump into the project. We have a number of ones, I'm not sure, yep, a number of ones here that are tagged with jump in, which are sort of smaller, bite-sized chunks, ways to jump into the project and get engaged. So at a high level, that's where we're at, and that's what's going on with the project. And I think probably Jim's up next to talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing at that next milestone.
Yeah, excellent. Jim, why don't you give us some more of those details?
Great. So June 11th is a big preparedness event that the Seattle Red Cross is holding. And the way it's going to work is they're partnering with Lowe's hardware stores to welcome people into the store. They're going to talk about things that people can do to become more prepared, how to often they say, build a kit, have a plan, that kind of stuff. But they also want to give people the opportunity to, if they don't have them, to get free smoke alarms installed in their homes. And so we already have an application called getasmokealarm.org, which allows people to sign up either on the web or by SMS to request those free smoke alarm installs. So we'll have computers set up in the stores where people can make those requests, or they can do it on their phone. And then we're currently working on getting the APIs together to get a smoke alarm to talk to AllReady. So we'll have as many as 1,000 to 1,250 requests that will need to be fulfilled after that event. And so those next 6 to 8 weeks after is where AllReady is going to have a chance to be put to the test. How do we take all of that information, all these requests, geographically group them, schedule them to particular dates, and assign them to volunteers so that all of those requests can get fulfilled as quickly as possible. So again, that being able to take the data, the information, put it together geographically, have routing figured out if possible, to be able to say, we're going to go from house, A to B to C, in a way that makes that quick and simple, and if possible, even a way to be able to every time you complete an install, that you can check that as done. But that's really kind of the next big need that we're trying to focus on. One other point that I'll make is that Tony and I have an opportunity to go actually visit with the Red Cross in Seattle on May 27th. So anything that we have to show, we're going to want to put in front of them so that they can get a sense of where this is going, and we can get some feedback. So that's really what we're looking at as the next big milestone for us.
Right on. And that mapping, that routing stuff, there's actually some really interesting technical work and API type work. So we've got obviously the front end things that Tony's already mentioned that we are looking for more help with, but then there's also some really cool technical things that are happening there as well. Speaking of technical and cool and diving in and getting people connected, Richard, we've got an event coming up this week.
Yeah, you and I get to hang out together, buddy, which is always fun, huh? So the Nebraska Code Camp, Adam Barty and his crew have gratefully, we are very gratefully donated a full day for us to run a little code-a-thon. So we've got a bunch of folks already signed up, looking to meet some good people. Again, I'm as excited about this project as we already are. I think we take for granted as technical people that the rest of the world is all plugged in with cloud and phones and all this stuff. We get a chance to make everybody more efficient with a project like this, to just really take advantage of what those volunteers' time can do. There's other ways to get this done. It's just this would be the most productive way to do it. So I'm excited to be part of this project and to get the software built and to get as many people safe as possible. We could save some lives here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things that I like. The thing that I keep repeating is that when, in almost every other context, when I go to donate my time, I'm putting down the tool set that I'm most proficient with, and I go and I pick up a different set of tools or a different set of soft skills, and I try and apply myself in that way. And it's just that this is just such a perfect vehicle for anybody who's got the software development, the software, like the design capabilities, the testing capabilities, to apply your skill set that you use and that you're an expert in and put it towards a project that's actually helping for the greater good. So awesome stuff and a great opportunity. Looking forward to meeting a lot of people here this week. Okay, a couple of technical things. There's some great conversations going on right now, so if you want to get plugged in and have a voice in that, I'm going to share my screen here. We'll see how this goes. And no, it's not going to let me do that. For whatever reason, Hangouts does not want to share my desktop, so I ran into this last time too. I apologize. What I was just going to say, though, is if you head over to the repo, if you head into the issues, a couple of the top issues right now that are being discussed, you can kind of see on the right-hand side when you're scanning your list of issues in GitHub, just going to github.com, whack HTBox, whack AllReady, then you can actually get at our list of issues. Just click on the Issues tab, and down the right-hand side, there's some really good conversations going on. You can see they've got 5, 7, 4 comments going on or whatever, starting to get into some really good technical details about the architecture and where we're taking the system. So that's something that's good to go to as well. I'll just try and see if I can share Tony's screen here. So the tech debt placeholder one is one that we've got on the tech background, and kind of talking about some of what we've got. So if you scroll down through that one, you can see that there's a drive for some DDD patterns, and we're talking about command and query, CQRS type concerns and things like that. So there's that aspect of it as well. One of the other things that we've taken on in the last couple of weeks, we've partnered up with Red Cross Cross proper, and as an organization, they have software developers there as well. And we're working on an API level integration. So I've been going back and forth with some of their developers, and we're kind of sketching out a way for us to exchange data. So Jim was talking about how people will be signing up via various outlets, and in the case of feeding them directly into AllReady, when somebody walks up to the website and they might place a request, that's something that might be coming down the road. But we've also got this other option where there's a website called getasmokealarm.org, I believe, and when you go to that website, you can request a smoke alarm. With the new API integration that we're doing, a really this is a very much a way of validating this project, is that the Red Cross has stepped forward and said, hey, whenever we get a smoke alarm request, we're going to see if you've got an operation set up, if there's an AllReady instance that's set up that is serving the area, the geographic area where the request came in from. And if so, that smoke alarm request is actually going to be managed by folks who are using AllReady. So that's a really cool integration that we're working on this week as well. I know we've got Steve on the line as well here today. Steve, you had some questions about some of the pull requests or some of the issues that you're working on?
Yeah, it's just clarifying, I think, some of the business rules, and Tony, you may be able to help here. So I've been looking through, as you say, the itinerary stuff that we need to kind of get finished off. The first question is around the tasks. So I think in one of your issues you've listed that a task should be defined to a day, maximum of 1 day, which doesn't seem to be the rule in the system at the moment. So I just wanted to check if that's across all event types or specifically to the itinerary.
Yeah, so that's specific to itinerary. So if you think about it, for the other types, you can have a rally that's, say, Saturday and Sunday, like a weekend event or something like that. And for the itineraries, the tasks are scoped to a day. One of the reasons that we have that is, I mean, it adds value, but more importantly, it allows us to do one of the things we talked about, which is kind of the copy-paste or the duplicate, where I can say, you know what, I have this proverbial day that looks like maybe 8 to noon and 12 to 5, and I've got 2 chunks where I need volunteers who can sort of do the installation, do driving, and something else. And I want to be able to say, we don't just do installs Tuesday the 12th and that's it. We say set this up and then say I want to duplicate this every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday or something like that for the next 3 weeks. And so scoping it to a day allows us that kind of, for lack of a better term, copy-paste functionality.
If I could also add, if you look at typically how this is being done now, usually a team of 2 to 3 people is getting a list of anywhere from, say, 6 to 10 homes, and then addresses, contact information for the homeowners. There's usually an effort to do some outreach ahead of time to basically say, hey, we're going to be in your neighborhood between 8 and noon. But they take everything that they need to complete that work. So the number of smoke alarms, drills, ladders, all that kind of stuff, and out they go for the day, and just hit those homes in order until they've met all those requests. They're not going to necessarily hit every one. They're going to probably get some doors. They're going to probably get some doors, even though the person said, "Hey, I'm going to be home," but they're not going to be there for whatever reason. They ran out to the grocery store. But the goal is for each itinerary, it's going to fall within usually probably like a 9 to 4 type window, and they're going to try to get as many smoke alarms installed on that list as possible. So that's kind of the typical use case I think you'll see, particularly for the Seattle event. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. That's great. Thank you. Yeah. And then sort of following on from that, I guess, at the moment we've got campaigns that contain multiple events, and those events can be of different types, different management types by the looks of it at the moment in the system. Is that correct behavior as well?
Yeah, well, we started off, we had 3 or 4, and then as we refined talking to Jim and the other users, we're really kind of down to 2. One is that rally type, which doesn't mean it's just for a rally, but it's sort of a large event. You typically have multiple volunteers. It doesn't get duplicated over days, etc. And then the other type is what we're talking about, itinerary. So a campaign could involve both. It could have, we need a bunch of volunteers Saturday and Sunday to get people to sign up, if you will. And then starting next Tuesday, every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday for 3 weeks, we're going to be doing installs. So both of them can be under the same campaign.
Yeah, so I had a chance to visit New York and see how they're doing this last week. Tuesday, Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Those are their itinerary days. When they go out, they'll pick a borough for every day, and they'll send a team out, or they'll maybe have a couple itineraries. Out they go for the day, and then next day maybe a different borough. So.
Okay, yeah, that's fine for me. Just looking through my notes here. And then the final sort of main question I think I had was around issue 376, which is the My Events page. So I've put together, it's not pretty, it's not UX magic, but it's a sort of a work in progress for the My Events, and I just wanted to check that that's on the right track, at least for a sort of minimum viable product at some stage, but there's no rush on that one.
Okay, I'll have a look at that as well. I see you've tagged Tony in that issue as well, and we can have a dive into that one. Okay, very cool. And that's it from your end this week, Steve?
Yeah, they're my questions for now. Thanks.
Thank you, by the way, for making time. I know you're different time zones, so making time to join us, that's much appreciated.
No problem. Late afternoon here.
Couple more just quick questions based off of the idea of the itinerary work. So when we collect the information for the requests for the smoke detectors, the smoke alarms, do we also collect email and or cell phone number for those people?
I think we should, yes.
Because that right there's an opportunity for us to use the notification framework and punch out a reminder 1 hour before the scheduled arrival of the installer, right? That's probably something that we can look at. So we'll have to think about enabling reminder notifications for requestees on the campaign. So we'll have to think some of that stuff out, map that out.
Yeah, I don't know if that's something that specifically has to be in place by June 11th.
Sure.
But that communications piece is something we need to think about. It becomes really critical to making sure that the campaigns work.
It definitely raises the percentage of completed tasks, right? When the people are home, it makes it a little bit easier to install a smoke alarm.
Yep.
That whole getting into the house and thing like that. Okay. The other piece of it was you'd mentioned having the routing capabilities, so drawing the map. Now that's going to require calls out to a third-party API such as Google Maps or Bing Maps. For us to do that in a secured area, which we will need to do because this will be personally identifiable information that we are putting out there. So from a privacy perspective, this is going to have to be behind a sign-in. So somebody who's authorized to view these addresses and only the addresses of the people that are in their itinerary, right? So that means because we're behind a password that we can't use the free version of the mapping APIs. So we're going to need to make sure that we get some keys in place, whatever, to use the maps piece. Tony, I'm sure you can help us with that.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. So I'll reach out to you about that offline as well, so that when we've got those things in place, we can start. We make sure that we don't have a blocking from a licensing perspective or whatever.
Yep, absolutely.
Excellent. Well, I think that's it from my end. Is anybody want to add anything else before we close out this week?
The only thing I forgot to mention earlier that when you were talking and you guys were talking about Nebraska reminded me is wanted to give a shout out to the Chicago Code Camp, which was last weekend or the weekend before. I lose track of time nowadays, but I wanted to give a shout out to them. We had a whole track dedicated to Humanitarian Toolbox. Had lots of folks come in, learn about the project. A lot of folks where it was the first time that ever be working on an open source project. So walk through pull request, workflow, all that. So lots of folks joined our Slack channel and are looking to contribute from there. So wanted to thank the folks at Chicago Code Camp as well as those that jumped on board. And then as Jim said, we've got this big meeting at the end of May. And so we've had some phone calls and other stuff, and there's a lot of excitement out there by the folks who will get to use this application. And we're really looking to use this as an opportunity to kind of prove that this model really works. We can get these requirements, so many great people contribute to the project, and then we can deliver actual value to the nonprofits and the volunteers that are specifically working on this type of campaign. Because for me, preparedness is so important because it can eliminate the need to actually respond to a disaster. It can eliminate the disaster, if you will. You get someone out of a building, you don't have to run into a building on fire, and that has such a huge impact for those individuals as well as first responders and such. So just very excited about the next opportunity we have to present on this.
Right on. Now, we do have... Go ahead.
I was just going to add one other thing. I'm fortunate I have the opportunity on Monday to give a TEDx talk. And I'm going to be speaking specifically about how technology is changing volunteer engagement. So a portion of my talk will be focusing on this group and AllReady, so I'll have a chance to talk about all the good stuff we're doing.
Right on. Very cool. Now, we do have a couple of posts for anybody who's just getting involved. I will share these out with the video when we finalize it on YouTube in a couple of minutes here. We've got a great post from Steve Gordon, who's on the call. We've also got another one from Dave Paquette. Between the two of them, you can kind of get a sense of what you're actually getting into on the project, and it'll also walk you through the technical steps of anything that you need to do to get plugged in. So I'll share those out on the video. We'll tweet that out afterwards. I did notice that we've got a couple of questions coming in here, but mostly it's just Richard trolling me. So excellent. Well, thanks very much, everyone, for joining us and for jumping on the call. And we'll have more next week and the week after. I believe after a couple of these big events, the presentation, and of course this week the Codeathon. Thanks, everyone, for joining, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.